You're watching Notepad and I am your host Ibrahim Sani. Today we have in the studio Ignatius Ong, the newly minted CEO of TNG Digital Sdn Bhd. TNG Digital Sdn Bhd is actually a combination of two companies, Touch and Go Sdn Bhd, as well as a financial group through their subsidiary Alipay. The two companies, the big two companies we're talking about, Alipay as well as CIMB, which owns 52% of Touch and Go, came about around 2016-2017 to create a mobile wallet company, and around November 2017 Alipay and CIMB got the approval by Bank Negara to create the tech company called TNG Digital. So with this, we have plenty to talk about. Ignatius, again, thanks very much for coming over.
Thank you for inviting.
It's always interesting to talk about mobile wallets in the country. The problem here is that not many people outside of the tech sector, for instance, and the financial sector know the difference between one mobile wallet to another, let alone the differences between TNG Digital and Touch and Go Sdn Bhd.
Right.
So let's start off with that. What is the differentiating factor between Touch and Go Sdn Bhd, the one that I put on my car every day, versus the TNG, which is in my phone?
Okay. Touch and Go card has been with us for the last 20 years. It's one of the earliest form of cashless payment for toll, and it has become the foundation of toll payment ever since. Of course, it's actually transcended into parking and then certain convenience stores and whatnot, but the technology is a 20-year-old technology. So what happens now today, Touch and Go digital wallet that comes into play, whereby we try to pair and actually transition the card users into the wallet sphere. So you think about it, the toll plazas, the toll gantries and whatnot, you have all the old devices that is actually reading the card. But what we need to do is, because of the huge infrastructure that we're talking about, 20 tollways and whatnot, we need to ensure that there is a seamless transition with least costs to actually transition it over, whereby we now pair the card to the wallet, and then from that perspective, you are able to actually do a deduction from the wallet itself, rather than from the card. So we are actually leveraging on the card for the meantime, but at the same time, what we are doing is we are also employing and deploying the RFID system as well, which has a direct link into the wallet. So if you notice, there are certain tollways, especially the open tollways.
Like Plus?
Not Plus directly. You have the other ones like Best Raya, you have the NPE, you have the Sprint. Those are open tollways. Basically, it's a fixed toll payment that you actually pay, right? And you go through it. So those are ones that we have onboarded the RFID system as well as the Pay Direct, which means if you have a card that's tied to the wallet, you go through it like normal, smart tapping onto the system, you actually do a deduction straight from the wallet.
But the idea here is also trying to move away from toll houses and try to see how people spend online, in front of brick-and-mortar retail places for the longest of time. And back then, the statistic that was shared with us with the media, I think 3 years ago, was that 97% of Touch and Go users still spend it on highways, meaning 3% are only spending it on retail outlets. That was 3 years ago. How has things changed, not just with the advent of TNG Digital, but also people's spending habits using Touch and Go card at retail outlets and any other areas outside of highway?
Right. So, as I've said, the card system is predominantly leveraging on the toll movements as well as parking. So with the advent of Touch and Go digital wallet, we're basically going to be onboarding a lot more merchants, whether it's offline and online. And we want to actually move away from the concept or the perception that Touch and Go wallet is still supporting just the toll. So we want to enlarge the ecosystem of where a user, or in this case a typical Malaysian, his daily life, his livelihood, where are the touch points it comes into play? For example, he wakes up early in the morning, he gets into his car, he goes to the toll, he goes to fill up his petrol at a petrol kiosk. So those are some of the touch points we want to be in there. And in fact, as we speak, we are in the midst of actually doing a proof of concept with one of the petrol dealership, and we are using an RFID system as well. The same RFID system is going through the toll. Now the wallet itself...
So how does that work? So I have an RFID on my car, I go to a petrol station, what happens?
You drive straight up to the pump, there will be a sensor that actually detects the RFID sticker, and then basically it actually authorizes the pump for you to actually pump the petrol.
No way.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
But it's still.
who are you partnering with?
Yeah, I can't tell you this now yet.
Petronas, Shell, what?
We'll keep you guys updated.
Okay.
But those are, like I said, it's a proof of concept. Once it's done, we'll roll it out on a massive scale. But until then, we want to make sure that it's seamless for a customer experience that goes through it. It's just good. So
that's exactly what I'm trying to get at,
Yep.
right? This interview is trying to unearth not just the existing structure of how people spend their touch
Yes.
and go, and therefore TNG Digital as well, but also the kind of touch points that you can
That's
use. Before cutting you off just now, you were on to another idea other than...
So the other things is that we are onboarding quite a lot of offline merchants. When I talk about offline merchants, within Touch and Go Digital, we have two separate divisions. One is what we call a key accounts, and the other one we call it SME. Key accounts are essentially the big accounts that we think about. For example, like Tesco, for example, fast food chain like KFC, which we have onboarded.
Okay.
So these are the guys that essentially, when we onboard them, you go to these kind of outlets, you can actually use the Touch and Go wallet to do the payment itself. But what is more realistic, what is more relevant today, especially the ones that we are trying to educate users, is that we want to be at the touch points where people spend most of the time there. For example, what would a typical Malaysian do when he wakes up after he goes to work? He wants to go to have his breakfast. So where would it normally be? It would be at the warung. It would be at the kopitiam corner shop at the at the bottom.
No, the office, whatever.
So you're going to have your noodles, you're going to have your nasi lemak and all that. We want to do is we want to onboard all these small merchants, essentially putting the QR code there, and they can actually do the transactions straightforward. Not just these merchants. We're talking about wet market, we're talking about pasar malams, we are talking about even the hawker centers that is at those Medan Seleras as well. So those are some of the things that we want to be there, because ultimately that is the touch point that is really, really relevant for a typical Malaysian.
Okay, let's face it. When Touch and Go was first created back in 2017, you got the license from Bank to be operational. I'm sure that was the idea, maybe in its nascent stage. Now it's a little bit more developed. Why was the onboarding not happening over the past 2 years? What was the delay like?
Right.
And what can you do as a new CEO coming over when you're going to say, okay, I'm going to change this?
So essentially, I think the first year when we got into operation, the whole thing was to actually build on the foundation that we have on the Touch and Go card.
Okay.
Hence, there's a lot of effort from technology standpoint. And from development standpoint, we want to make sure that the card can pair to the wallet. And then, of course, at the same time, we are also trying to roll out the aspiration of the government to have certain things on RFID. So if you look at it, there is a lot of effort being put on that portion for the start. And after which, once we have it rolled out seamlessly, things are more stabilized, then the team is now actually re-looking at the whole ecosystem, hence the offline merchants come into play. So I'll be very frank with you, the team that I have in Touch and Go is relentless. The pursuit to actually onboard these guys are really, really drastic and fast.
I must acknowledge that, because you're in a very tight sector here.
Yes, it is.
Everybody else is relentless.
True. So just to give you a taste of where we are, for the last 9 months, where a lot more focus on the offline merchants, we have onboarded 80,000 merchant touch points.
I'm so sorry, is that a lot or?
That is quite a lot.
Okay.
All right. For 9 months, and we're talking about not just the big key accounts where you have 500 outlets or 300 outlets, but we're also talking about we have onboarded 40,000 SMEs, and these are the ones that we're talking. One prawn noodle stall down there, one nasi lemak stall down there, and these are all different owners, which means it's labor intensive. The team works very strictly with certain key agencies, and we onboard these guys together.
Okay. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue this very interesting conversation with Ignatius Ong of TNG Digital. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for staying on with us. You're watching Notepad. Joining me this evening is Ignatius Ong, the newly minted CEO of TNG Digital. Ignatius, I want to step away from your company per se, but also focus on the industry outright. Right now, based on last count, there's over 40 mobile wallets right now in Malaysia.
License issued.
License issued. Yep. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And there's only like a few that people remember top of mind, right? And I don't want to give them free advertising, but it's at the end of the day, when you go to a merchant, the fella's going to be like, okay, you want credit card or debit card, or you choose A, B, C, D, E. and then like you might have 3 of them, but it's still not enough because you don't have the 4th that the merchant has. That is the normal pain point that people go through.
Right.
Do you think that there comes a time when you have to seek some assistance or guidance from the central bank or any other regulator just to streamline this conversation? We can't have 100 mobile wallets out there. We need to have a few, but work well.
Right.
And punish them if they don't do well, right?
So how we see it is this. We are probably just past infancy of the e-wallet industry in Malaysia. We are probably in the adolescent stage. And having a couple of e-wallet players in the market does help in the sense that we are actually leveraging on each other to educate the market, whether it be from the merchant perspective, also from the user's perspective. I think that's fine. But one of the things that I'm worried as well is that the tactics that we actually employ to actually get the subscriber on our base. For example, giving cashbacks, you know, offering certain kind of soft pins when you're actually...
It's a race to the bottom.
It's a race to the bottom. It's not sustainable in the long run, and we're probably educating the user wrongly.
Yeah.
So it comes to a point where we will see that they should have a bit of sanity into the market, and I'm looking at probably next year that's where it settles down, and we need to start really going back to the user. What is our key proposition here? It's convenience, right? You have your smartphones. Everyone has a smartphone. And
but that's the thing. When you talk about value proposition, the service that you render is actually ubiquitous. It's yes, you're convenient. Everybody's convenient. It's easy to upload. Reload. It's easy. Everybody's doing the same thing.
True.
It's so difficult. It's like choosing, one French fries over another, right? It's difficult.
Right. So I think I can speak from TNG perspective.
Yeah.
It's not that similar to the other wallets. First thing, we have what it is the toll payments, the parking that we are actually onboarding as we speak. We also have a lot more in terms of, let's say, onboarding not just the big key accounts. We are now refocusing more on the SMEs, like I talked about.
Yeah.
So we really want to get into the touch points of where a typical Malaysian goes to. Over and above that, we are also working on a platform which is very aggressive and very powerful. It's a platform that's very scalable. It's the same platform that Alipay uses, and we are basically working on a community platform, which means we are always on the leading edge in terms of safety and security protocols. We are talking about the products that we actually offer is on a more seamless basis. It's been tried and tested. So those are some of the things that we can value proposition to the users and also to the merchant.
Okay.
So that is what differentiates us from the other wallets as well.
But Touch and Go, TNG Digital is guilty of offering cashback. I mean, I was enjoying, my tolls. I get, for a 2 ringgit toll, I get 20 cent back, 3 ringgit toll, I get 30 cents, something like that, right? And then suddenly it stopped, and I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't realize there was a cut-off point because I was enjoying it, right? How do you educate the customer to move away from this cashback system?
So what we are doing is we are also employing some of the approaches whereby Alipay has actually done in China as well. So the education period, or the acquisition period as we call it in our own industry, is that we need to educate the customers, the users, to actually start using our wallet a lot more frequent. There is actually a study made that once you have hit about 3 days continuous usage of a wallet or 7 times continuously, the stickiness comes into play. So unfortunately, whether it be in Malaysia or in China or Indonesia or in Philippines for that matter, you need the enticement. So the cashback comes in quite handy, I would say.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think the users will actually feel that, hey, the whole point of me using the wallet is about convenience. It's not just about going into a departmental store where they only accept credit cards, but if I go to the store downstairs for 6 ringgit noodles, I can get to use it.
But you're driving cost of acquisition customer up for your own...
For now, but not in the long run. So the whole point at the end of the day...
Then customers would have tried after you don't have these kind of sugary things
I think
to offer them.
The whole point is to get the customers to actually experience it once.
Okay.
So it's just like me, right? When I actually started using the e-wallet, guilty as charged, right?
Yeah.
The cashback is a very good enticement. But the whole point is that when you start actually doing the scan at the merchant, right? You don't need to think about bringing out your wallet. You don't need to actually physically pull out your wallet and then you start dropping your credit cards on the floor. Or the cash falls out. Or maybe you're receiving a change where the cash is actually dirty. So you think about it from that perspective, it's a lot more seamless.
What all the way there?
Yeah.
Literal hygiene.
But you'll be surprised, right? I actually had this one conversation with the the chicken seller at the wet market, which he has. And you know that gentleman was looking at me, and I was just casually asking, because we have the touch and go QR code, and say, how do you feel about using this? And he looked at me and said, what is there not to like? Because the fact is, my hands are, filled with blood. I'm chopping the chickens and all that. But whole point is that when I said, look, it's 85 ringgit, the person who's buying it just actually showed me that QR scan done, confirm this is your name, this is your bank account, click, and you go.
Everything's done.
Right. So it's seamless, it's easy, and also from the point of view, we are very aligned to what Bank Negara's aspiration to go cashless. One of the things that we also talk about is that once you move to cashless, you're also conserving Mother Nature, right? Because physical cash comes from paper comes from the tree. So,
I mean, okay. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll ask you one of the harder questions, which is about your past. Don't go anywhere. And after this, we'll get in touch with Ignatius Ong's past. Thanks for staying on with us. I have with me Ignatius Ong, the CEO of TNG Digital. Ignatius, of course, has spent close to a decade, or perhaps even a little bit more than a decade, in the airline sector. You were, of course, the CEO of Firefly, and eventually became the Chief Revenue Officer of Malaysia Airlines. I mean, these are two very interesting companies outright. Firefly, what's there not to like, right? I mean, but Malaysia Airlines is a struggling company, and being tasked to find revenue for a very interesting company, let alone a very tough sector, must be hell for you, right?
Well, it's a tall order. So let's talk a little bit about my role as the Group Chief Revenue Officer. So essentially what I'm doing is with regards to pricing the inventory, the seats, going into doing marketing for that pricing, the tactical campaigns that we run, and also we deal with our partners, travel agencies. We also do with corporate accounts as well. So ultimately, it's not about, today's airline industry is no longer about your cost base. It's about what your competitor does in the market. It's about the marketplace dictating where you price yourself. For example, I always give people this analogy. 25 years ago, I went to UK to study. And I flew on one of the airlines, unfortunately it's not Malaysia Airlines. And the price of that flight, a return flight from KL, London, KL, is about 2,500 ringgit. And that was 25 years ago. So if you compound that with a 3% kind of inflation in Malaysia, plus the fact that today the ringgit is no longer as strong as what it was then.
So that would be like what?
You would be talking about at least 6,000 ringgit. Right, value from then until now. But in actual fact, we would like to charge that amount, and that would be an amount that a lot of other airlines would be probably wanting to charge.
But you can't.
But you can't if you have another airline, for that matter, putting a price, let's say 2009, and it is real.
So you subsidize the cost.
So you basically actually subsidize the cost. So that is one of the things that a lot of airlines goes into this kind of gameplay, which is ridiculous.
Of course. Again, race to the bottom. Again, subsidizing cost. Again, another Grab, Uber. Again, another WeWork.
That's
again, same old story. But then we now know that the tech sector is now going through that whole problem. WeWork spectacularly imploded last week, and we're starting to see some remnants of the airline sector over the past few decades moving forward here. What can you bring with your experience and the things that you know of Malaysia Airlines and Firefly? How are you going to see being applied in this new role of yours here?
So one of the things that I did a lot in Firefly, especially in Firefly, was that we tried to sit down and think of ways and means to actually appeal to the customer. In this case, would be the user, right? So Touch and Go Wallet is not just about payment. That's what we are currently doing. But there will be a lot more other new products that we're going to roll out. I can't share with you exactly, but I can tell you that the wallet could be the platform. Our wallet could be the platform for you to save money, for you to invest money, even up to the point of us lending money. So it's all about, at the end of the day, it's premised on one thing and one thing only, what the consumer needs, what the user needs from us. It needs to be at the convenience of a touch of finger.
That's crazy. Sorry, you just dropped a few bombs right there, and I'm not going to edit this. I'm going to cut that out. No, because when you talk about what's the purpose of CIMB and Ant Financial being there anyway, if not to extend credit to the customers that are already on your platform, right? I mean, the issue here is always credit assessment, credit worthiness, risk management. All of them you guys have already through CIMB. So I guess it's just another logical step.
So just watch the headline, watch the space here. We'll be rolling out the new products as we come along.
Definitely.
I'm not going to share with you too much. If not, I'll be the shortest lived CEO of TNG Digital.
Well, there's plenty to continue the conversation.
Sure.
I'm sure when you do launch these kind of products, I'm going to be the first to hound your people right there.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for spending time with us.
Thank you, Ibrahim.
That was Ignatius Ong, my conversation with the newly minted CEO of TNG Digital. I guess you can download the app on any app store, right?
Yes,
TNG.
both iOS and Android Play Store.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, and I was going to say this on air. It's difficult to get the green verified status. It's just...
Oh, you mean the verification, the KYC?
Yeah, it's just hell. You gotta,
Come on, it's actually quite straightforward. Take
Yes,
a photo of the IC.
It is a straightforward road. It's a very long, straightforward road. Anyway, that was my conversation with TNG Digital. If you've missed any part of this interview, just head on to astroawani.com. Look for Notepad. These kind of interviews can be found there. You can also watch this interview on your mobile devices. Just download the Astro AWANI app wherever you get the application. Until next time, thanks very much for watching and goodbye.